Welcome back then folks to, of course, my July Special Projects bonus pack, this time the last of the 3 builds for a signature King Cobra, as I call it, based on the GT350R Mustang from 2016. For those who are unfamiliar with my signature builds, it's basically like my own fictional tuning house, like Mines or Spoon, but it's whatever car takes my fancy. Usually it's just stuff that's about fun more than anything else, sometimes not even necessarily all that quick, but then some are more of a drift build, some are more of a monster speed build. Some are kind of a mix of everything or might have more track potential, but it's usually a balance. It doesn't just have everything fitted necessarily. This one, for example, it's one of my more challenging ones in a similar sense to the Sidewinder, of course also a snake-based concept. That one was based on the Cayman, inspired by the SSC Ultimate Aero. This one is a bit different. The King Cobra is based on what if you had something that felt kind of like the vibe of a TVR Speed 12, but in more of a muscle car or, of course, pony car technically kind of shape. So that's the essential idea, a 1 horsepower per kilo Mustang, 1,000 horsepower per ton, which in this case is 1,350 horses, 1,350 kilos. So pretty bonkers. Of course, you do need the Maverick motor swap to get that kind of power, and you will need the wide body if you want to go for the visual pack, which I've done as well. Of course, I've painted this one, as with all of my special projects, or as with all of my, I should say, signature special projects, so you can grab that via the link below. So with the wide body and the motor swap out of the way, if we jump into the upgrade shop, of course, to get that kind of power, you pretty much need to fit everything anyway. So if we jump to the ultimate section first, all I've got there is the carbon prop shaft. Going back to the sports stuff though, you want your stage 1 weight. I've actually, and this is one of the crucial things about the car, left it on sports hards because, like I said, I wanted it to kind of embody the Speed 12 vibe of being stupidly quick, stupidly powerful, but also not a beginner-friendly car, something which demands more respect. As far as the club sports stuff, we've got the stage 2 weight, the power restrictor and the ballast. For semi-racing, we've got the fully customised computer. I'll just double check. I've got the racing silencer, and if I recall, I think I might be running that one instead of the semi-race. So if you wait on just a second in the video or skip ahead, you can see which one I've got fitted because I don't recall off the top of my head at the moment. We've got the fully customised computer though, the high RPM turbo, the fully customised diff, stage 3 weight. As far as the body rigidity, I've opted not to do it for this one. As far as the racing stuff then, like I said, the race silencer, the pads of course, the suspension, the clutch and flywheel, the fully customised transmission. For the extreme stuff, I've gone for the hydraulic handbrake, then the carbon ceramics. Of course, as I've said before, you could just go for the racing ones because they are a bit cheaper, but I wanted that nice like supercar look, which those ones have. And surprisingly for me, I actually don't have the steering angle adapter. And the reason why I've not gone for it this time is I didn't want it to necessarily get too twitchy. So if you want to fit that and see if you'd like it even more, then absolutely go for it. It's certainly a car which likes to drift, so you could if you wanted to. And like I said, we've only got the carbon prop for the ultimate stuff. Now, to jump back into the garage to the tuning setup side of things, like you can see, thanks to the tyres in particular, it's not very high really on points. 680 is quite modest for something which weighs about the same as a GT3 car, like around the Gran Turismo 6 era of GT3s with the SLS and the Nissan GTR in particular. And in terms of horsepower, well, it's quite a lot more than a Speed 12 had, at least a standard one in real life, which was more like 800, 880, but it's still definitely kind of captures that vibe. And I think one of the reasons why I was inspired to do that kind of inspiration, I guess inspirations behind it really would be the best way to describe it, was that with the Cayman, it kind of suited the SSC vibe because it was a mid-engine rear-wheel drive approach anyway. This one, and it kind of made me think of this, the Speed 12 is one of the only examples of a front-engine hypercar. Because if you think about it, the vast majority are mid-engine. The Speed 12 really was a very different approach to that kind of vibe. It was kind of like a Dodge Viper, for example, but way, way higher up the food chain in terms of stupid performance, ultra low weight, and really high power. So with this one, it's not as light as a Speed 12, but the power is way, way higher to make up for it. Of course, you could make it lighter if you wanted to, but I wanted to keep it to that 1 horsepower per ton. So of course, we've got the sports hards fitted. For the suspension, we've got 90mm on the front. 110 on the rear, so a little bit of a difference there, but it is naturally different on the front and the back anyway. 4 on anti-roll, 25 and 35 for the dampers, so a little bit lower there. Then as far as the springs, that is increased to 3.25 on the frequency, 3 degrees of camber front and rear. As far as toe, I've towed out, 0.10 on the front, towed in, 0.30 on the rear. For the diff, I've opted for 40 and then double 10 for acceleration and braking. For the transmission, really long ratios, 500 kilometers an hour. Obviously, it's not so much a top speed build, but one of the reasons why I wanted to do that is because, well, 2 reasons really. One, so it has that crazy wheel spinning torque pull, which something like a Speed 12 always used to have in Gran Turismo, where you change up a gear and then it just relentlessly accelerates through that gear before changing up again. Secondly, because it also means you don't have to be crashing up and down through the box quite as much. You can just use that sheer torque and horsepower to do the job instead. As far as the ballast, you want 81 kilos, at least if you want to get 1 horsepower per kilo. I've opted to put that 35% toward the back, which is a 52-48 split, of course. And then as far as the power, we've got 99 on the ECU restrictor, 97 on the power restrictor in general. And again, that's if you want to get what I've got, which is 1350, of course. As far as the downforce with this build, 60 is the fixed amount on the front. I've reduced the rear down to 150, as I accidentally come out of the menu, reduce the rear down to 150, and then over here, of course, it's pretty simple because it's just the stuff which we've fitted. So now all that remains, as always, is to jump out to a circuit, on this occasion Road Atlanta, so that I can talk you through what I've done, how to use it, and how it feels. Well, a 1350 horsepower Mustang, even with racing tyres, could be a bit leery. It might be a little bit more forgiving than you're expecting though, but even that kind of ties in, I think, to the Speed 12. Yes, it has a reputation for being a crazy car, but the reality is, in virtually every game which has a Speed 12, it's actually not as difficult to drive as you would think. From Project Gotham to Forza to Gran Turismo, yeah, it's not necessarily a beginner-friendly car, but I would say it's no way near as challenging as something like an SSC Ultimate Aero was, for example, in, again, Project Gotham or Forza. Or in Gran Turismo, I mean, I don't know, even something like a Cobra, the classic Shelby Cobra, I would say is more of a challenging car to get correct than a Speed 12, especially before you do anything to them. So again, here it has crazy power, crazy performance, you can easily spin up the wheels, but you can pretty much control this car's entire personality just with the throttle. You don't even have to get crazy with the braking or the handling, it's pretty smooth. And obviously it can spin up its wheels because, of course it can, it's a 1300 horsepower Mustang, so it's something a bit different, it's crazy fun, similar to the Cayman, and you could certainly use it to drift with if you wanted to. That's it for this build, and that's it for this week of bonus special projects builds. Of course, I'll see you next week if you're not watching every video anyway for the Gran Turismo coverage in the update, and until next time, I'll see you then. But for now, thanks for watching.